This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Not everyone is careful with your personal information, which might explain why there's a victim of identity theft every 5 seconds in the U.S. Fortunately, there's LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity. If your identity is stolen, a U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year by visiting LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. 3 couples, 4 vacations, a lot to unpack. Watch The 4 Seasons, a new series starring comedy favorites Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, and more in a hilarious and heartfelt love letter to long-term relationships. Based on the original Alan Alda film. Watch The 4 Seasons, May 1st, only on Netflix.
That moment when you realize your skincare is actually working. That's Rodan & Fields, the #1 female dermatologist-founded skincare brand in the U.S. Designed by 2 dermatologists who don't just know women's skin, they know how to formulate for it. Rodan & Fields, love what you see. Tap the banner or visit rodanandfields.com/Spotify to get your exclusive welcome offer.
From the Fifth Quarter Studio in Madison, Wisconsin, you're listening to the Basketball Leadership Podcast. Here are your hosts, Steve Collins and Greg Berg.
All right, welcome to the Basketball Leadership Podcast. Like that, there's a little pause there, Coach. Remembering what podcast that we're doing tonight, but we are excited. Coach and I are very excited about starting this podcast. Gosh, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago I reached out to you and I saw your stuff on Twitter. Yep. And it was like, oh my gosh, you know, we're all, at least as coaches, I'm always looking to make my team better. I'm always looking for ways to build that community and that leadership and that culture. Looking to ways to make my guys stronger. I mean, we're always looking to at least become better educators. But this will be exciting. Any of you that have listened to any of my podcasts before, which are a multitude of them, I'm Steve Collins. I was trying to do the math, Coach. I think it's year 36 of coaching basketball, year 35 of teaching. Been very blessed, have had a lot of great teams in the state of Wisconsin. And started these podcasts, all of them a long time ago, just to kind of give back to the game. And I think that's where I couldn't find anything that talked about basketball and leadership and kind of building your team from that standpoint. So that's when I reached out to Coach, and that's why we're sitting here doing this podcast. So Coach, I'm gonna have you introduce kind of yourself, kind of your journey here, and then we'll jump into kind of our plan for the year. So people that are finding this podcast will kind of know what we're going to do for the year.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach. Greg Berg, and I've been following you for a long time and listening to your podcast. So when we connected, it was really a kind of a neat thing. Like you, I've been in education for it's my 29th year. I've been coaching since college. So I've been coaching since, beyond that as well. Coaching multiple sports. I got a little, I guess, unique background how I got into this, where I became a young coach at a very young age, 26. I was a math teacher like you, 2 math teachers on a podcast. That's a scary thought, but
oh my God. My people want me to stop tuning in, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. But no, I taught for 7 years, and I kind of always had this leadership passion of mine. And I went into administration after 10 years, and I had to get out of coaching for a little bit. But I still coach. I coached at, my son's group when they were young, and kind of the youth for a few years. And then I had an opportunity 10 years ago to get back into coaching. I had a very supportive superintendent. And so I've been a varsity boys basketball coach in Lake City for the last 10, and the high school principal. So I've kind of, this whole leadership process I've gone through has been pretty amazing. And I started speaking. Worked with Jeff Jansen Sports Leadership Center a little bit, been speaking across Minnesota, putting leadership and culture workshops on for a couple of years. And I really just thought the next step for me was to go online. And so about, I don't know, 14 months ago, I started writing online, leadership, culture, teams. It's done things and expanded more than I can even imagine in over a year.
You were one of the few people that, like, I was around obviously before COVID, but you're one of the few that, like, a lot started during COVID.
Yeah.
You didn't start during COVID.
I started after COVID. Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
I had more, and like you, wanting to give back, and I'm not getting any younger. This is something I've always wanted to do. And so I just started writing. I think I had 500 followers on my first post. I took a course. I had a plan. I was at my parents' place in Florida during spring break, and I took a course that allowed me to learn how to systemize it. And it's, I'm at 24,000 followers right now, and I've got 8,000 on my newsletter. It's just crazy what has happened in a short period of time. I've written 4 books. I've got this team leader OS. A lot of stuff has happened. And so now I get to be on a podcast with you, and I'm really excited about that.
It's interesting how this kind of, like, mine came back from after talking to my brother and driving back from the East Coast to the Midwest. It's like when you do one of those long drive, it's like when your brain can rest for like 5 minutes. It's like, oh crap. Like, that's when it just starts. It happened this weekend when I was fishing. Actually, I was thinking about this podcast, but
it's usually how it works.
Yeah, it is. I caught a catfish too, Coach. It was weird. Okay,
nice.
I had to cut the line though. I didn't want it to die because the hook was too deep. But anyway, for those of you that are fishermen, understand that that's what you do when you catch a fish and you can't get the hook out. You don't pull the hook; you just cut the line, and eventually the hook will disintegrate and they'll live. So anyway, there's my my societal life lesson for people: don't kill the fish.
Interesting, Steve. When I was my first go around coaching, you came and spoke at a clinic in Minnesota. I was probably 27, 28 years old. And I still remember the full court press breaker that you gave us. And I use it to this day. And it's got about a 98% success rate. But that's why I remember you from a long time ago. And
that was
I've been really,
and then I went and who was the coach then? I don't even remember who was the coach at Minnesota, but then I went and ended up actually speaking at Williams afterwards too, because someone backed out and I was there anyway. And that was a great clinic. That was a really good clinic in Minnesota. I do remember that one. So let's talk about what we're going to do this
year. You bet.
What is, so we've kind of mapped it out, but I'm going to let you kind of dive into kind of the nuts and bolts of. But what we're going to do for all the coaches that are listening is we're going to try to walk you through your season too. What are you dealing with in preseason, in season, postseason, off season, kind of. So the 4 buckets I've always kind of put things into. There's really no off season, but
that's true.
But there's definitely a preseason, a season, and postseason. Off season, that's a whole different podcast. But yeah, go ahead, Coach. I'm going to have you kind of explain what we're kind of do over the next year or so.
Yeah, I think when we think about leadership, coaching, culture, teams, all of that, it's such a broad topic, and I think us talking about those 4 topics and really centered on leadership, our own leadership as coaches, how we build and develop and grow leaders on our teams, and all of the things that happen over the course of a season as a coach. We both got tons of experiences. And I think, whether it's accountability and developing team leaders and building a culture and dealing with the issues and things that happen over the course of a season, I think it's going to be great conversations. I think a lot of the stuff that I've written about online for the last year and a half or so are great topics that we can share and talk about. And so I'm looking forward to starting this journey for a year and talking about some great topics that I think all coaches will want to listen to.
Yes. And I'm gonna put I'll put my email down below. Coach will have his too. But if you ever think, if you're listening to this again, 17, this is 20, this is going to be going up in 2023. But if you're listening to this in 2028, doesn't matter. Email us, and if this is a specific topic or something you want us to dive into, or how you do something or something like that, Those are always great. I know with some of my other podcasts, some of our best ideas have come from other coaches about, hey, could you talk about this, or what's your thoughts on this? And especially both of us are so deep into it, both being head coaches, that I think we'll be able to touch on most of them, but I'm sure we're going to miss some. And if there's any specific topics that any of you want to hear, send us off. It doesn't matter where you're finding us on this. Send us a note, and we'll try to fit it in somewhere into our schedule. So, yeah. All right. Anything else, Coach, about the mapping out of the season?
No, I think I'm looking forward to it. We had a lot of topics to talk about. We're going to do it in short bursts. Looking forward to where it takes us.
Oh, it'll be great. All right. Till next time, Coach.